So there's some topics that I can write about and it comes out well. And then there's some topics that they're not topics that I'm writing about logically, they're topics that I'm just writing about experientially, and I find that speaking them is just so much more effective. So this is my version of a post about a topic that I don't feel I could capture if I was writing. In these last 2 years, or for the past 2 years, it's been a goal of mine to better understand and better experience community. And a big part of that desire that I had is in relationship to relationships. And I feel like I'm coming to grasp some of that, although I don't feel proficient in any way with it. In past quote-unquote relationships, and by that I mean romantic relationships, for lack of a better term, it has been, in my experience, a very private thing, and very removed from my community, so my friends specifically. And in leaving my previous relationship, a goal that I had set was that any relationship I got into in the future would be a relationship within a community. And so what does that mean? It means that the relationship would serve the community, be celebrated by the community, and would happen within the community. And that is, I think, how relationships should be. I think that's actually that relationships belong to the community, that they don't just belong to two people. And in our day, with all of the sickness that we experience socially, it has become the opposite, where relationships are private and individuals belong to communities. And I don't think I need to get into all of the details of how sick society is. Either you already feel that way or you don't, and your journey will take you to whatever conclusions you come to. However, I see that sickness, and I see that relationships belong to the community. I also see the resistance against this. So especially when it's not time to celebrate anymore, it seems that even if a relationship was within and supported by a community up to a certain point, when things go wrong within that relationship, that's not the case. Then all of a sudden it's very private, because it's not positive. And I've experienced this, and I think that's actually kind of commonplace, where relationships, so long as it's rainbows and puppy dogs, it's great to have them seen and witnessed by the community. But when it's not rainbows and puppy dogs, then you need to push that shit away and just lock that up, keep that behind closed doors. And I understand that desire. Nobody likes things that don't feel good. Nobody wants to have to deal with that. But here's the rub. That relationship does belong to the community, and any symptoms of what is going on or wrong in that relationship also belong to the community. And that's not a cop-out for individuals. It's just the reality that people are made within a community. They're made within a community context. They learn about relationships within a community, and thus the experiences of those people in relationships are the communities. And that relationship will not succeed without that community. So how do we then rectify or navigate between these two very dichotomous views of relationships where A, they are very private, especially if something is not going right, and B, they belong to the community, specifically when things are going well? And how can we begin to close that gap between these different views? And actually be community in both the great and the not great, for and with the people we share community with. A friend of mine shared some views on this and did step in as a community leader when a relationship was starting to tank. And I saw this as an incredibly valuable blessing to try and bring community together around that relationship and help it grow back to a positive direction, a healthy direction. And the resistance to this was experienced in two ways. One, from within the relationship and not wanting to keep it private because something had gone wrong, hiding what goes wrong. And second, from within the community, certain community members who also felt, no, when something goes wrong, you must hide that. So now I am looking back at the first word that comes to mind is carnage, but at the results of navigating such an experience without community or with limited community and becoming increasingly isolated from the community because something went wrong. And I see even more pronouncedly now that relationships belong to communities and that they can only heal from something going wrong with a community there to support the painful and wonderful sides of healing a relationship. So those are my thoughts on relationships today. I don't know who's ever going to see this, if anybody, but I wanted to get my thoughts down, and typing was just not working. So there it is.